Yeah, so PMGs caught my attention really quick once I got once I got into the modern Marvel card chase. So I mentioned the 2020 Marvel Masterpieces. That was first. And then from there, I start digging into the modern sets and learning about them. And I quickly realized that PMGs were really cool. And at that time, and forgive me, I'm going to get a little ahead of one of your questions. Okay. So
No, go
at that
ahead.
time,
It's
at that
free form.
time, thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you. At that time, I was like, you know what? I'm going to collect Spider-Man 2099, Spidey 2099. And I'm going to do that because collecting Spider-Man is probably going to be too expensive and too hard to get good stuff. Like everybody
Right.
loves Spider-Man. It's going to be all sucked up and expensive.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so because of that, I started like strategically chasing down 2099 cards like a character collector. Okay. Like somebody might have a favorite sports athlete that they only
Hmm.
collect.
Hmm. Yes.
And man, that was a real chase. That was a real hunt because finding the green Spider-Man PMG and the was actually really hard. I got the so Spider-Man 2099 is only in the 2017 Flare Ultra Spider-Man set. There's a bronze, there's a red, there's a blue, there's a green, and there's a purple, and then there's a gold one of one. Still to
Okay.
this day, no one's ever seen the gold one of one of the Spider-Man 2099. But I found the purple and I bought it for $600. Now, what you have to remember at this time that I bought that, I'd never paid $600 for a comic book.
That's it.
And the only reason I was like willing to use that muscle of spending that much money on a Marvel card is because I'd opened up a box of Marvel gems and pulled a card that I sold for $535. And so I bought that card. And so I have the purple and I'm still hunting the green. And eventually I actually found it from Dash Collectibles. You can find him on Instagram. He
Hmm.
actually had the card on Upper Decks E-Pack. And I hunted him down, got him to communicate with me. And then we started messaging back and forth and came to a price. I think it was $500 is what I paid for
Okay.
it. So I'm $1,100 into the purple and the green, and I'm into the bronze, red, and blue, probably for I don't know, $400 or $500, maybe $300, something like that. So
Okay.
I'm into the whole thing for $1,500 at this point for that rainbow, so to speak. And at that point, X-Men Metal is announced. X-Men Metal, and X-Men Metal has PMGs in it, so that had my alert up too. And so I'm starting to really, really pay attention to that market and those cards and this was February and March of last year, 2021.
So now PMG market values have grown. There are several cars that have sold for large amounts.
Mhm.
As the market has matured, because you just told a story about kind of when you were getting involved, some of the cars you were pulling, some of the cars you were selling, and what the dollar amounts were.
Mhm.
When you hear of the large dollar amounts now around PMGs, what do you think?
My mind is blown, to be frank, in the sense of, what it takes for someone to spend that much money on any card, whether it be Marvel, sports, Pokemon,
True.
whatever.
It's true.
And this has been like really interesting to me. And what I mean by that is to me, it's felt like working out for the first time. Like the first time I went to the gym, like I was like, oh man, everything hurts and I can't lift much. That was me, paying $600 for the purple and $500 for the green. Like that was to me a lot of money, and it was a lot of money in the market at that time, right?
Yes. Yes.
But once I used that muscle once, I was like, oh, it wasn't so bad. I withstood that. I didn't take away food from the table, so to speak. And you just start growing. It just starts growing from there in terms of what you're willing to spend and what market you're playing in. Well, at that point, now you float into May, and May something really interesting happened that the Marvel card community was not ready for. And that's the green Spidey sold for $34,000 on Golden Auction.
I
It's
remember
it's
this.
widely known that Steve Aoki bought it. The gold
Hmm.
one of 2015 sold for 28,000, and the other one sold for what they sold for. And me including the people who had been in the hobby for some time, thought that, well, that green would probably sell for $10,000 to $13,000. So it tripled that. And that basically caused your core collectors in the hobby to wake up to the fact that, okay, there are people who see a potential in these cards that maybe we didn't inside of the space see. And the market started changing from there.